What comes to mind when you think of farming? Someone driving a tractor through a field of grain? Animals grazing peacefully on rolling green pastures? Family members of multiple generations working together shoulder to shoulder? Sure, those idyllic moments exist in the lives of farmers, but there's more to farming than meets the eye. It's a lifestyle filled with uncertainty, from unpredictable weather to the constant concern for optimal livestock health. Financial stability can be a roller coaster, and trade deals, as well as increasing interest rates, have added stress for dairy farmers. Figuring out farm succession is another complicated topic, one that can create intergenerational tension. To make matters worse, farmers face growing vilification on social media. Challenges like these have deeply affected farmers' mental health and led to significantly higher rates of depression and anxiety compared to the general population. Suicide rates are twice as high among farmers, and 1 in 4 has felt their life wasn't worth living anymore. Opening up about their struggles is not easy for farmers, as they often don't realize the high levels of stress they endure. However, seeking support is crucial for a healthier mindset. In this story, we explore the experiences of dairy farmers and emphasize the importance of addressing mental health in agriculture. British Columbia and Alberta are home to approximately 1,000 dairy farms. Being a dairy farmer is more than a career. It is a unique lifestyle that entails wearing numerous hats. You require skills in animal health and reproduction, nutrition science, crop management, mechanics, business, leadership and finance, amongst many others. In general, many dairy farmers find a lot of satisfaction in their day-to-day work.
Work, in my opinion, is a joy. Building things, changing things, growing things. It's always been challenging, and I love it.
Being your own boss and setting your own schedule and being responsible for your whole being, not just your at-home after-work thing, but doing it all yourself.
I'd like to see the cows thriving. I'd like to spend time with the cows, just giving them scratches and whatnot. I'd like to see them enjoying life.
Nevertheless, there are challenges. Many of these challenges are unpredictable and impossible to control as a farmer. Whether in climate change, commodity prices, government trade deals, and our exponentially expanding global population. On a more individual level, it's a lifestyle that is difficult to step away from.
There's days where you can't get away and you wish you could and you miss things. Especially when the kids were younger, I did not have consistent help over there. I was largely a one-man show.
Working together with family members of multiple generations can be stressful.
Farming-wise, it's to be able to communicate. They're always together and they need a break from each other. Right?
Sure.
Getting along with my dad is quite difficult sometimes.
There's also a difference today than, say, 50 years ago, where a farm family, it may have been, there were some children, and it just expected that one of them would take over the farm. And that's not the case anymore. That multi-generational family farm, like that farm family identity is shifting than what it used to be.
Tensions within farm families is one thing, but being berated and threatened online is another.
Those people were threatening the family. They were going to call social services that you were abusing your kids by exposing them to farming. The phone was loaded with phone messages threatening. So yeah, that is stressful.
It's an easy industry to pick on.
Yeah.
All you need is one bad apple. And stuff happens too.
Things can get sideways sometimes.
That's right.
In any industry, but
that's right.
When it has to deal with animals,
yeah,
things get sideways and they can just pick up on that right now.
Yeah.
Consumer pressures have led to increased regulatory strain in an already heavily regulated industry.
My biggest challenge is regulation. It's not the job. It's shit around it. We have to have a regulator. We have to have a standard for milk quality. We have to have a standard for normal things, right? So there is basic regulations, and then there is excessive regulations, and we're into the point of excessive regulations.
Well, that's one of the stresses I have. I find that the industry seems to be so far away from the people that actually do it. The people that make the rules for what I have to do in my farm and my
Have no
operation
idea.
seems like they have no idea what I do and the commitment that I have. They just think that it just happens.
The compounding of all these challenges create an environment primed for the proliferation of mental health struggles. So what do we know about mental health within the farming population? As it turns out, not much. The first national survey on the state of farmer mental health in Canada happened only in 2016. Since then, the field has been gaining traction and funding towards further research.
The field is really new, and so there's a lot of opportunity to really do some great work that has real world implications. There's a growing understanding that mental health is a concern, and people are seeing it play out in sort of their own family farm situation or their own community. So we're getting lots of interest in it. They don't really know what they're looking for, but they know they need help, they need resources.
So, what kind of tools are out there for farmers that are struggling with their mental health?
Frankly, not a whole lot. There's lots of gaps, specifically when it comes to accessibility and relatability. Farmers find it really hard to use the resources that are in their community because they just feel misunderstood.
A quick Google search confirmed limited resources for those seeking professional help. But there are both grassroots and government-funded emerging organizations. AGNO is one of these. It's an Alberta-based approach to farm mental health, providing access to evidence-based research and a network of therapists with an agricultural background.
The core business is becoming that hub where people can start from and start finding things. It's about connecting people with the people that understand farming and can support them in their journey.
We understand that farmers are nested in a community, so we are creating programs and interventions to help support farmers. So it might be training to service providers and healthcare providers, or farm family members, or even financial planners, so that they either recognize signs and symptoms and also are familiar with what are some of the supports that farmers need.
So there are several emerging resources out there for farmers, but are they aware of them?
So are you guys aware of any of the resources / organizations that are out there specifically to support the mental health of farmers?
Nope.
No.
None that I know.
AGNO, or the Do More Foundation, or the CCAW. No, you've never heard of those agriculture-specific?
What kind of resources are out there for mental health wise?
Not enough.
Not enough, yeah.
No.
Clearly, there is a major gap between the resources that are out there and the people that need access to them. So why the gap? One possible explanation is how farm culture tends to idolize stoicism and self-reliance, leading to denying the existence of a possible mental health issue.
Farm culture still means, that strong, stoic, private, self-reliant, you get cut, you rub some dirt on it and keep going. That mentality, and I think that can really prevent people from seeking help when they need to.
And I think this is a problem in the agricultural sector. Most farmers, if they have a pain and ache, they're not going to the doctor.
No.
It has to be really, really bad before they go. And then, especially when it comes to mental health, it's too late.
For little injuries, I practically need my wife to put a gun to my head to go in. Yes, yeah.
Definite that you don't want to be telling everyone that you're just about losing it. I don't tell them that I just about burst into tears when my cow dropped to the floor and wouldn't get up. I don't like that about myself, so why would I tell other people?
If a farmer decides to reach out to a professional, establishing a connection where they feel comfortable enough to open up about their struggles can be difficult when the healthcare provider does not understand what the life of a farmer is like.
When there is a depression, you feel alone. You don't talk to anybody because you think they cannot relate to you.
I've tried the therapists out in the city or whatever. I haven't found it to be terribly helpful. They didn't understand agriculture. They generally don't see the need to work a 14-hour day every day, because why would you do that? And the reason you do that is because it's work to do.
On the flip side, some farmers may underestimate the beneficial impacts that taking care of their mental health can have on their lives, both personally and professionally.
And so a lot of stigma tends to be around understanding the significance or how it benefits them these mental health strategies, a lot of mental health strategies are they're not tangible, right? They're like reframing, thinking about things different. And so when we talk about stigma, it's kind of tricky because a lot of people will say, oh, farmers have stigma, they won't come to a mental health event. But is it that they don't feel mental health is necessary, or is it that they just don't see that the word mental health doesn't click with them with something that they're like solving a problem or fixing things or making things better at home, right?
Then there's the challenge of navigating the healthcare system and figuring out how to pay for it.
I found it really difficult. There was a lot of circular, you phone the distress line and they send you the same place that gave you the distress line, that kind of stuff.
Healthcare system firstly runs typically on a 9 to 5. Farmers don't have a set schedule. It's different every day, and they have unique needs and challenges. That makes it so they can't just leave the farm for an hour to go to an appointment. Like that's a big, anything long term is just not really doable for farmers.
Some insurance programs only cover, say, $500 worth of, care from a psychologist. So that can be kind of limiting when you can only maybe use $220 for 50 minutes. So that doesn't go a long way if you only have a limited amount of money.
With these barriers in mind, what are some possible solutions to bridging this gap between farmers and mental health resources? Throughout this story, two overarching themes emerged. First of all, while the field has been expanding over the last several years, more awareness needs to be cultivated within the farming community on the importance of addressing mental health struggles and the resources that are available to do so.
Getting people to think about how they're thinking and how they're feeling is one of the first steps, and then to understand the impact of how they're thinking and feeling on their ability to do their business well, and then realizing that these strategies that are so abstract and kind of weird, if you just think of them on their own, will actually impact and improve those systems so that they have the ability to thrive in the situation that they're in, right?
This comes with a caveat.
The unintentional consequence of identifying somebody as a minority is that you create this system where they get put in a box and they get treated instead of as individuals as a minority group. And so I'm trying to think carefully about our approaches to make sure that we're always aligning ourselves with the general public. We all care about wildlife, water, and air quality, and that's a Canadian value, and all of us have it, right? We all care about the health and welfare of animals, like that's just a person, and especially in Canada, like we just care about those things. So we have the same values as the rest of Canadians.
Well, the tide is turning. Certainly in our street, several of us have talked about stress and where we're at, and that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. So we recognize it, and we are starting to talk.
I realize all too well what mental health can do to a person. It can break you. So you don't have to be ashamed at all. Never. If you did the best you could, then you don't have to be ashamed.
Secondly, healthcare providers working in rural farming communities should at least develop a basic understanding of agricultural literacy. This will help providers successfully connect and relate to their patients, ultimately improving a farmer's experience in the healthcare system.
Farmers have a different lingo.
I haven't had any difficulties getting people to come forward or to speak if I am making myself very accessible and relatable to them.
While this is great in terms of big picture thinking, what can a farmer do right now on an individual level to benefit their mental health? From conversations with farmers and researchers, it seems that establishing communities and finding your own way to create some separation between work and personal life is helpful.
Our suggestions that we might give are ones that fit their lifestyle. So while yoga is great and meditation is great, there might be other things that a farmer can do to get some rest from their work that fits their lifestyle quite well. And whether or not that's, say, spraying machinery or checking fences on the quad, right?
What really helped me is I had 2 dogs and 3 goats, and we just went in the field and just made the circle around the corner. And when I came back, I felt all refreshed, and sometimes the problems were solved already, just by being away from everything. And
I'm an avid gym goer for probably 15, 20 years. It helps me physically and mentally.
I think mostly I go back to my family and the elders in my church. Usually a visit with the elders makes me feel pretty heard.
Find a friend that is a colleague and understands your business, because you need to understand that's the person to talk to.
Research shows this, is that when you take a physical break and like remove yourself from the farm, that's when you're actually at your most creative to help problem solving.
A couple things that we do that's helped us with our mental stress is having big windows, like I told you. So we make Sundays a different day, and it's just, we do things different on Sunday. We'll actually go for lunch or go for a drive, just get away from the farm.
As you just heard, farmers are already creative and resilient, and problem solving is in their nature. Bridging this gap is simply another problem to be solved.
I think that most farmers, if not all, are thinking solution and not problem. And if that's your mentality, you'll make it as a farmer. I'm absolutely 100% convinced about that. We always like to make a joke of things. So you start with the joke, but then the underlying message gets through, and they will do something with it.
Through awareness, we can help farmers overcome the stigma and create a community where they feel comfortable seeking help. Healthcare professionals must understand their unique struggles to connect with farmers effectively. Let's bridge the gap between farmers and mental health resources. Together, we can cultivate a brighter future for farming by fostering openness and support beyond the barn.